Hello and welcome back to another episode of my MotoGP 21 career mode, and today we are here for the 4th and 5th rounds of the season at Jerez and Le Mans. Now unfortunately in the last episode there were so many crashes at Portimao. Dupasquier was actually the only AI that didn't fall off. I think Messia fell off about 5 times in the end. I don't know how he managed to carry on going, but he finished I think about 8th place or something like that, but pretty much all of my title rivals retired from the race, because you can see Yamanaka has jumped up to 3rd in the championship, and we now have a 35-point lead over Darren Binder after 3 races, so really unfortunate that the AI crashing is kind of ruining the championship, and there's nothing I can even do about turning the AI difficulty up, because it's already on 120% if I show you here. So you can see it is already on 120%, so there's nothing I can actually do about it. I can't turn up the AI to make them beat me more or anything like that, but it's kind of poor that on the highest level of difficulty, literally all the AI crash out of the race. But enough about that. I'm hoping it doesn't happen again at this next round, but it probably will. But without any further ado, let's head into the Spanish Grand Prix. I'll see you at the end of the free practice session. Hopefully I will have achieved all of the objectives. So then, at the end of this first free practice session, we are top of the table by about 0.6 of a second. You can see I've only done 3 laps, but that was enough to get us up there, and I've also completed all the objectives, except one actually, which wanted me to ride 100 kilometers, and I've done about 12. So I don't think I can really be bothered to sit there and do like another 90 kilometers. That's going to take a long time, so I think we're just going to end off this practice session now. We should easily be top of the session. Seems like we've got some extremely good pace here, so I think this should be another pole position and another win, hopefully. So then, at the end of that session, Messia actually moved ahead of Acosta, did a slightly better lap, but we've still got over half a second to the rest of the AI, and honestly, that wasn't a flawless lap either. I was a few tenths down on my best times through the first sector, got it all back through the second, and then improved in the 3rd and 4th, so there's even more time on the table than that, so I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. With a good half a second over the AI, we should easily be through into qualifying 2, so I'll see you down there. So here in qualifying 2 then, you can see we were still top, so that was actually top of the combined times, because I am on the top left there, you can see in first position. But going through Q1 then was Guevara, Onchu, Antonelli and Fernandez. So Onchu keeping up that streak of going through every single Q1 session. Seems like Fenati finally didn't get through, his teammate has got through instead. Antonelli, though, he's come through a few of the sessions as well, so it seems to be quite scripted who comes through qualifying 1. It's about 1 of maybe 8 riders that actually can come through. I just said 1 of 8, I meant 4 of 8, so I just mean it picks a random 4. I don't know why I said 1, it doesn't really make sense. But anyway, the time we set before, of course, was half a second faster than the rest of the AI, and that was on medium, so I'm going to go soft here, of course. And hopefully this should be another pole position, because we have got some serious pace here. Whereas at Portimao, we only just got pole position. I really didn't think we were going to, because we didn't have much pace. Here, it's the exact opposite. We have so much speed over the AI, so I'd actually be disappointed if I don't get pole position. So here on the track then, it's telling me I've just completed 2 developments again. Seems to be a bit of a bug. It just tells you that, even though obviously I already did them before. It already came up and told me that I'd done them. So the AI then actually do go flat through that corner. I was thinking it was just me that's doing that, but it seems like the AI are flat through that penultimate turn. So thank you for showing us that auto drive. But a bit wide through the last corner then. Coming out of the last corner. We were also in power mode 2 when we set the time, so we'll also have a little bit more power in this session as well. So McPhee currently fastest with a 1 minute 50.3. Well, I already know I can beat that. That was a pretty bad mistake there. That was awful. That whole section there was absolutely awful. So we actually might need to do yet another lap after this one, because the second sector was the best one I've done all weekend, but the third and fourth were pretty atrocious. So as we come up towards the line, I'd be surprised if this is still faster. It is by a whole second, actually, so 49.2. Well, I think that is going to stay top. The AI are not going to find a second in this session, so even with what was actually quite a poor lap, if you saw us in the third and fourth sectors, it was pretty poor. My lines were horrendous, same with my gears in a couple of corners, so to be a second quick with that does show we really do have the pace. So this should be pole position at the end of the session, so if I don't win this race, I'm going to be pretty disappointed. So then, as I expected, that time was pole position, 9/10 clear of Darren Binder in second, Pedro Acosta in third, and Gabby Rodrigo in fourth. Then with Masia in fifth, just being just outside of a second. Same with John McPhee as well, but you can see the rest of the AI a little bit further behind. Honestly, I am really expecting a fairly easy win in this race, even, you know, if they don't crash out, because that time wasn't very good. I made a lot of mistakes, and I was just kind of scared of going off the track when I got my line wrong at a couple of corners, so I was lifting off the throttle through sections I was holding flat out. In fact, actually, I think that lap might have been a little bit worse time-wise as well than we did in free practice, because I felt like we did a 48 in free practice, but I could be wrong. It was probably a 49. I'm probably getting it wrong in my head, because soft power mode 3 would be faster even with a bit of a worse lap. So time to head into the race now. I'm looking forward to this one, because I think I'm just going to push the bike as much as I can, try and get a really good fastest lap, see how far I can actually pull away. So then down here on the grid, and I think once again the best option is going to be medium tyres, unless the game tells me otherwise, of course. But even if they would get a little bit overheated in the race, I think I can pull enough of a gap where I can actually look after the tyres towards the end. I think it's going to be a 6-lap race, so I think that should be plenty. I think the tyres will be pretty destroyed by the end, but I should be able to pull out enough of a gap in the opening couple of laps to try and just save the tyres as the race goes on, because we've got pace over the air that we haven't had so far this season. In Qatar, it was pretty close. Obviously, I only just got pole in the first race. I think a little bit more comfortable in the second one, but I made a lot more mistakes in the second race, which kept it nice and close. Portimao actually should have been a really close race. I'll be honest, I did actually have a lot better race pace than I expected, but it doesn't help that the AI can't stay on the bike either, so that made things a lot easier to actually beat them because they were all crashing. But I think Portimao probably would have been a fairly close race if they hadn't. Whereas here at Jerez, I think we genuinely have the pace. So unless I make a mistake and fall off or something, I think this should be another victory.
Just a few moments to go until the start of the Spanish Grand Prix, and these riders know it will be vitally important to get that first corner spot on.
It's actually kind of starting to annoy me now, the weird issue with the light map where you can see the outline of the 99 on this bike. But waiting for the lights to go here then at Jerez. Lights out and away we go. I've not had the best start, so Binder is going to get me on the run towards the first corner. Back down to power mode 2 because I don't want to run out of fuel, of course. We go down towards the first corner then. I think Darren Binder is going to have this one. We're going to slot in behind. Pedro Acosta has also snuck up the inside. Macias trying to get through as well. I've lost the rear end. Gone onto the green a little bit. Look at no penalty there, but there's been a crash in the background. Not sure who went down because I didn't see on the left-hand side. But we've not had the best start. It's left me with a little bit of work to do, so it's not going to quite be the easy race I thought it was. So we're going to have to try and pass Masia, Acosta and Binder here, and hopefully not McPhee as well, because I went a little bit wide there. I thought McPhee might be able to get through, but fortunately not in this case. But it looks like Acosta is actually attacking Binder quite a bit through the Cita Pons corner, and there has been a crash behind. So, oh, a big crash. I think that might have been McPhee again. John McPhee in every race so far has crashed. And he's crashed on like one of the first laps as well in all of them. But here we go down towards the Danny Pedrosa corner, around the outside of the two IO bikes, around the outside of Binder as well. I'm going to get hung out to dry here. That's not going to work. Yes, I've run out of road. I'm going to have to come back on the circuit. There was no way 4 wide was going to work. But we've now got a huge lead over the rest of the pack because that big crash that happened at the Cita Pons corner. So the two IOs going side by side then. Masia trying to get underneath Acosta. And to be honest, that made it so I couldn't get past either of them because they're sort of blocking the way. So Binder is getting away a little bit at the front. But like I said, of course, I have got good pace. So I'm not too worried about him getting away because I know I can reel him back in. And this is the section where I actually am a lot better than the AI. Whereas the first and second sectors, not so much. Although I did find a little something in qualifying in the second sector to be a little bit quicker. It was the best second sector I've done all weekend. But we're closing up to the back of Masia then now. And we've got a track limits warning. That is fair because, of course, I cut the inside. But down towards the Jorge Lorenzo corner now, and we're on the outside. That's not going to work out. This rear tyre is so hot, by the way, so that's not looking good for me. But up the inside of Yama Masia then, so we're back up onto the podium. But he's got slightly better drive than me, actually, and he might be able to outbrake me down towards this first corner. Now, I've got to be a little bit careful, because, of course, I did pick up a track limits warning. But we've got through the first corner, then still in front of Masia. And actually, interestingly enough, the AI went wide this time, and I went tight, and it was the one time the tight was actually faster. But we've immediately caught back up to the back of Pedro Acosta, and I'm going to go straight up the inside through turn 3 on him. So there we go, up into second position. I'm kind of scared that he's going to turn in on me a little bit here towards the outside the corner. Probably not in the right gear. No, I probably should have gone down another gear there, but I didn't want to overread the bike too much. But through Cito Pons corner then. A crash behind. Dennis Onshu has gone down at the Cito Pons corner, but we're all over the back now of Pedro Acosta. We go flying around the outside of him, up into second position then. So Darren Binder just in front of us now, and it's a little bit similar to the previous lap. I got such a good run off the Cito Pons corner, close right up to the 3 in front of me. But this time I didn't try and go around the outside. I did learn from that mistake. But look at this rear tyre. It is unbearably hot. I know I've had it at a couple other races where it's been red, but this is definitely the worst it's been. A hard tyre would have probably been a better choice here. So I think this is the first time I'm actually considering the fact that I probably made an incorrect tyre decision on this game. Usually so far the medium has been pretty good for me. But this time I think I've made a slight error. But like I said, of course, once I get past Binder, I'll be looking to save the tyre. I almost went up the inside there through turn 10 because he left the door open, but I thought better of it because he did start to pinch me towards the apex. So through Alex Cribier, then I've got to watch out I don't cut Ferrari again on this lap, obviously like I did on the last lap. I've been cutting it very fine the entire weekend on that inside curb, so I knew at one point I was going to step over the line and end up getting a warning. But Binder goes very tight through the start of the Jorge Lorenzo corner. That's probably going to affect him on the exit. Although actually they've got out of there pretty well, so compared to last year's game, where the AI were really weak out of that corner, not too bad. 48.9 there, so that was better than my qualifying lap. So that just shows you how poor the qualifying lap actually was, that we've already gone and beaten it. So I'm not sure where the AI were in qualifying. They should have been able to beat that lap because it was so scrappy, but unfortunately they just didn't have the pace to do so. But Darren Binder so far has had some pretty good race play because we're getting up towards half race distance and he's still in the lead of the race. A race where I thought was going to clear off, to be honest. Once again, I probably should have just stayed in 4th through that corner, so shifting up into 5th. Bit of a mistake, but through the Cito Pons corner then we should have the run on Darren Binder this time. Yes, we really do. We're going to pass him out of the corner before we even get onto the straight. So there we go, up into the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix. It's time for me to put my head down and try and get away from Darren Binder and Pedro Acosta behind. But fortunately, it does seem like there's not been too many crashes in this race. Of course, on the first lap, there was a bit of a pile-up at the Cito Pons corner, but honestly, that does happen sometimes in the MotoGP games anyway. That's nothing exclusive to this game. I've seen it happen on MotoGP 20, MotoGP 19. I think I've even seen it on 18 as well, so nothing too peculiar there. But up the inside goes Darren Binder whilst I'm talking about a crash at the Cito Pons corner, so I made a bit of a mistake. And Binder was capitalising on it already. And he goes around the outside to Darren back into the lead of the race. But this time might actually stick it up the inside to turn 10. No, not quite. So Binder has really surprised me. And Acosta's still there as well. So it seems like the AI, they've really upped their game in this race. Because we're lapping quicker than we were in qualifying. And they're actually giving me a challenge this time. So it's nice to see. This is some of the AI battle. I'm kind of expected to see at Portimao. But unfortunately, we didn't see it, so I'll try and get the power out of the Jorge Lorenzo corner as early as possible, closer to the back of Darren Binder. We actually have got a better run than them this time, but unfortunately, my lap's not been very good, so it's not going to be a new fastest lap of the race. But here we go to the inside, and we're going to pass Binder down towards the first corner. This is going to be tricky. He's going to try and hang it around the outside. I'm on the inside. Oh, Binder just swoops across my nose, but he goes a little bit wide because of it, so we're going to have the run now down towards the Michelin corner. Up the inside we go of Darren Binder once again. And yes, he's going to get hung out to dry this time. And this is the section where I was gaining time on them before, but I didn't flip the bike over through 3 very well, so he's on the inside. But I should have this one through turn 4. Left it in 4th, get a little bit longer, slide in the rear tyre, just trying not to go off the circuit. Don't want to pick up another track limits warning. I think I'm a little bit scared of that now. After obviously cutting Ferrari a little bit. There's been a crash behind. It's Suzuki. The Tatsuki Suzuki's gone down. So it does seem there still is a few crashes here, but Acosta's now gone past Binder as well. So Binder really suffering in this race now. Now that I've taken the lead off him, Acosta tries to follow me through. Acosta obviously doesn't want me to get away. Oh, it's been another crash. Garcia's gone down. So Garcia goes down at the Cito Pons corner. So that seems to be the tricky corner at this circuit. But again, it's nothing too unusual to see crashes there, but we have still seen quite a few. So it seems like the MotoGP 21 AI crash a lot more than the MotoGP 20 ones did. So as we come up towards the line then to start the final lap of the race, the tyre wear is actually starting to affect me quite badly now. I can't go flat out through some of the corners I was before, so I'm not quite pulling the time on the AI I actually was. The gap's hovering between 6/10 and a second throughout the lap, really. So I need to be careful. If I make a big mistake, we could actually have a Costa currently inside, but we have only got one more lap to go, so as long as I keep it clean, we should be safe. There's been a crash. It's Acosta. Acosta's crashed, so we are definitely safe from him now. Masia was right behind Acosta, but we've got about a second now to them, so we should be able to hang on to this to the end of the lap. But unfortunately, every time an AI starts to close up on me or something, they just fall off through one of the corners. It's so weird. It's never just some random AI at the back either. It's always a pretty good front runner that falls off. Like McPhee has actually crashed in every race so far. So Petronas are going to be very unhappy with that. So through the final corner then, we've got a pretty healthy lead back to Yamaha Masia, 1.2 seconds. I actually probably did the best Sector 4 I've done the entire race, and we're coming up towards the line actually. I think we're just going to set a new fastest lap on the final lap, because it said I was a little bit underneath my previous best. So then, 4 races, 4 victories, absolutely dominating this championship. But fortunately this time, the race wasn't ruined by excessive crashing. So that is really good to see. Acosta actually still finished 4th place, which is quite incredible. So maybe there were a load of crashes again, but I feel like there wasn't. Yeah, see, there's a few at the back that are all retired, but we did see Guevara, we saw Onshu. I didn't see Koffler, but I think I did see Salach go down at some point of the race. Of course, there was that little pile up on the first lap, so that could be why those guys are out. But yeah, it seems like there wasn't excessive crashing in this race. There was a few crashes here and there, but nothing to the level that we've had so far this season. So that is good to see. But Acosta still managed to finish 4th after crashing on the last lap, so fair play to him. Adrian Fernandez in 5th place as well, so that's a good finish for him. But the important thing for me is where Darren Binder's finished, and that is 3rd position. So another 9 points on Binder should take our lead up to 44 now. Speaking of the championship, of course, we do now have a 44-point lead ahead of Darren Binder in 2nd position. Yamaha Masia, 56 points back in 3rd place. Yamanaka gets demoted to 4th. Suzuki gets demoted down to 5th. Acosta actually jumps up the order quite a bit, so he only has 24 points. So he must have crashed in majority of the races. Well, he's probably crashed in every race so far, actually, because he's still got a pretty good finish. He got 4th place. What is that, like 12 points? So he probably got 4th place once before as well. I can't remember the results off the top of my head, but yeah, the AI points totals are extremely low. You can see they're really close to each other, actually, but the points totals are so low because they keep crashing. McPhee must have picked up a few more points in this race, but he's dropped down quite a few positions. Adrian Fernandez jumping ahead of him now. But considering that McPhee is crashing every race and is 12th in the championship, he didn't finish in a lot of those races as well. That just shows you how many of the AI have actually crashed in these races. So in the Teams Championship then, we now are 33 points ahead of Petronas Sprinter Racing. So it looks like Real Avintia are going to probably win this championship without too many problems, even though Tata is actually only given us 7 points. And I'm not sure about Antonelli, actually. His points probably aren't being counted because he's not the top one in the championship, or he's never been one of the top 2 finishers of our team, so that's probably why. But Red Bull KTM IO then, they have moved up to 3rd position, back ahead of Prustal GP, 658, and Aspar, who have moved down quite a few positions there. Grassini also moving up, but once again, a very close championship, but it's just because all the AI are crashing. So we'll return to the Career Hub now, end off this weekend, and get started with the French Grand Prix. I'm not sure how many weeks off it will be, probably only like 1. There'll probably be some upgrades to do though after this one, because I think the engine upgrade will have finished now. So then, once again, we gain 10,500 reputation, which takes us up to 52,000 exactly. I'm not sure whether that 5,250 for the multiplier bonus is included in that 10,000. I think it is, so I think that's why we only gain 10,000 still. On the credits front then, once again, 6,158, which now takes us up to 69,033 credits. But of course, this is the all-important section. Once again, we gain lots of research data because we get the ×2 for the VIP multiplier bonus. So I think that's probably why we get so many per week, is because it's a bonus this year for pre-ordering the game. Obviously, we didn't do the Tool of the Trade one because I wasn't doing 100 kilometers. I did about 4 laps. That was about 12. So I didn't exactly feel like doing 40 laps. You know, that's a bit excessive. I'm not really sure why that is actually a practice program. It should be based on your number of laps. So if you do a 100% race, then yeah, that's pretty feasible actually. But that you'll do that over the course of a weekend. But if I'm doing a 5-lap race, I'm probably not planning on doing that many laps. But anyway, it doesn't particularly matter, only costs us a couple hundred. So we've now got 1,341 on the engine and 860 on the frame. So we'll definitely be able to do an upgrade when we get back in here. So of course we've actually got a notification on the headquarters because it's actually the frame upgrade that's finished. I thought it was the engine, but it's the frame. But I'm guessing we'll be able to do one straight away here. Actually, not quite. We're 40 off, so if we actually had gone and done those 40 laps, we would be able to, but not quite been able to get the final frame upgrade yet. We're 40 research data away. But we should get that in the production anyway. Actually, we haven't got anybody assigned to that so far. So we'll put the frame people on here so that when we advance forward a week, we should get it. So we've got all the frame people back on the research, but of course the engine upgrade's still in progress. So we've not got the engine people back on the research. So we'll advance forward this 1 week here then. And then that should give us enough research data to now upgrade that frame. Yes, it does. So I'm not sure which upgrade to actually go for. I'm presuming the tree is the same as last year, so you can only have one of these and not both, but we'll probably have enough to buy both at some point, so I'll be able to buy both and just pick which one I want on the bike for the weekend. The bike actually feels really, really good in a lot of places. I did actually do a little bit of time trial before doing this episode just to feel what the bike was actually like in, you know, fully upgraded trim, and it does feel a lot faster actually. So I think the main performance is going to come from the engine rather than the frame. Like, it felt pretty much the same through the corners, but it had a lot more punch. So this upgrade isn't probably going to make a massive difference, but we'll go for the improved tyre wear because that's always a bonus. You're never going to say no to improved tyre wear. So I stuck all of the frame people on here. It's actually going to take 8 weeks to do this one, so you can tell that's a bit of a bigger upgrade. So it's going to be quite a while before we actually see that improved. But I haven't got any of the notifications then. So the next thing to do is actually to head into the French Grand Prix. Hopefully we can try and make it 5 from 5. But that last race was super, super fun with all the battling with Binder. Obviously Messier and Acosta as well a little bit. So hopefully we can have another race just like that in the French Grand Prix. Have a good battle with the AI. And it is France, so you never know, it could be wet. So then at the end of my run in this practice session, we've done all of the objectives except 2 of them this time actually. And I'll quickly show you what they are. So once again, we've got the Tool of the Trade one, where it's do 100 kilometres. And once again, I just don't do a weekend that's long enough to feasibly do that. Because I've done 14 kilometres, so it's about, well, it's 14%, isn't it? I was about to try and work it out and then realise it's out of 100. But I've got to do that probably another, like, 5 times at least. So, like, 5 or 6 times. It's between there, so I'm not going to... It's just going to take so long to do that. And then the race pace as well. I only just did a fairly decent lap on my final lap, so I'd need to do another 4 laps of this circuit. And honestly, it's not the fact that I don't want to do it, it's just that if I do another 4 laps, I'll get right in the groove of the circuit and I'll thrash the AI. So I don't really want to do that. I want to have a close battle. So we'll go into qualifying now. We should get that time attack one then when we do that, because we are already through. We're top of this session by a fairly decent amount. So I presume that we'll go straight into qualifying too. So we'll have all the objectives except a couple of them. But the bike's getting pretty much fully upgraded now. It's only the engine that we're waiting for. And it's more that I'm waiting for the engine to actually finish the current upgrade rather than not having enough research data. We're getting there now. The frame is done, so it doesn't matter about that. It's just the engine now that we are waiting for, of course. And we're just waiting for the upgrade that I've currently got on to complete so I can start the next one. So we'll end off this practice session here then. Head into qualifying, and hopefully we can try and get yet another pole position. So then at the end of that session, Pedro Acosta actually improved his time a little bit because he was only 4/10 off us in the end. So we've not got it plain sailing because AI can probably bring a little bit more to qualifying than that, and I'll probably turn up a little bit less. That seems to be a little bit of a pattern. There's a couple of times where my pole position time has actually been slower than the one I did in practice. So that could happen again. Hopefully with the soft sauce we should be a bit better, but this track I'm actually struggling to do consistent laps purely because there's so much change of direction at this circuit, and that is what I'm struggling with the most on this Moto3 bike. The brakes, I've pretty much got that down now, and I think I'll probably do that with the MotoGP bikes as well pretty soon once I've done a few more races with them. But at the minute I'm struggling with the changeover of direction like quite a bit. I need to adjust my style a little bit on the way into the corners so that I can flip the bike over a bit quicker. So some laps I'm getting that good, some laps not so much, so it could be really interesting in qualifying. I might struggle to do a decent lap, and in the race, that'll definitely be good. It'll be like Doha again, where I was making all those mistakes, and it made the race really interesting. So then, the AI actually did improve in the second and third practice sessions, you can see, because Acosta, Messier, and Rodrigo are all actually above me on the list, which means they must have done slightly better times. So it is going to be a tough one. It's not going to be a guaranteed pole position here. But coming through from qualifying 1 are Minho, Artigas, Guevara and Koffler. So actually a completely different set of people than you usually get. On Chu is already in the session, you can see here, but that's 2 races in a row now that Fanati's not come through Q1. So then the usual softs, of course, for this. That should give us a little bit of time. Power Mode 3 as well will give us a little bit more time, so I have got obviously a little bit more to give, but then the AI probably do as well. So I think this is going to be a close one. We've definitely not got this one in the bag. I think this will be one of the hardest qualifying sessions for me so far, purely just because of all the change of direction. There's some parts on the circuit where I am a lot faster than the AI, but then there's also those parts of the circuit where they are much faster than me when I'm trying to change direction. So this should actually balance out and be a really good qualifying session and race, hopefully. So once again, my favourite bug where it just tells me that I've done 2 practice programs again when it already told me that I did those earlier on. I think it's the 2 that you stick on your hood. I think it tells you that you completed them in qualifying for some reason. Not quite sure why, but seems to do that. So traction control 4, that's the right traction control setting. The track actually seems really, really light for some reason. You can see, look how dark the grid spots are. So not sure what that's about. I'm not really sure why the track is so pale all of a sudden, because it wasn't like this in the first practice. I think it might have been... Was it slightly overcast in the first practice? I'm not too sure. I might have been Jerez, actually, that was overcast in FB1. So, yeah, a little bit weird there with that little graphical bug, but it doesn't matter too much. A bit of a wheelie, actually, out of the chicane here, but the chicane itself, not too bad. We actually got the bike flicked from side to side fairly well. And you can see we're actually underneath Rodrigo's time with a 44.9. So the AI, yeah, they did step up their pace a little bit. I'm not sure if that's Rodrigo in front of me or whether it might be Alcoba. It looks like one of the Grassini bikes up the road in front of me. I think it is actually Rodrigo. Well, actually, it might be a Honda Team Asia. I'm not too sure. I saw the white and I thought it was blue, but it actually might be red. We'll see when we catch them up. We're now 4.5 tenths underneath the time, so taking quite a bit out of the AI there. It is actually Rodrigo, so I was right at first. Not sure why I second-guessed myself there when I was correct. But this is the hardest part of the circuit here for me, this chicane, because sometimes I would go in a little bit too hot in MotoGP 20 and struggle to get the bike turned, and you've got to imagine how much harder it now is on MotoGP 21 for me to do that as well. So getting the bike turned in the middle of the corner, and then you've got to just go right out to the edge of the track. We actually didn't lose too much time there. We're still 4 tenths underneath. In fact, we actually might have gained a couple hundredths, but that will have been from gaining a lot of time out of the Garage Vert corner and then sort of carrying that down the straight and then losing a lot through the chicane as well. But this lap has actually been the best one done all week. I think it's just someone's just crashed. I think it's just popped up saying it's Masia. But through the last couple of corners, almost went off the track. I had to release the throttle so I didn't go off the track. So that might have cost me a bit of time. But as we come up towards the line then, 44.0, so 9 tenths quicker than Gabby Rodrigo. So that's definitely the best lap I've done the whole time. That's the only lap I've actually strung all the sectors together really well. So I actually have got some decent pace there, but I'm not going to be able to do that every lap consistently. So we'll head into the pits now. Hopefully that'll still be good enough for pole position at the end of the session, but the AI might speed up a little bit. So in the end then, the AI did actually improve. Pedro Acosta only 6 tenths behind me at the end of the session, same with Rodrigo. Toba actually been a bit of a surprise, being very, very fast in 4th place there. He was quite fast in Doha, if I remember correctly, as well, the Doha GP, so it'd be nice to see Kaito Toba at the front. Rodrigo, I haven't really seen him much at all. I think he might have been there at actually the first Qatar race, but I've not seen him since, so it's nice to see some other riders at the front, because Darren Binder is therefore down in 5th position, and obviously he is my main championship rival at this point. So it's always good to see him a little bit further down the order. But since it's only 6 tenths on pole, it is actually quite a big margin for Moto3, to be fair. But I think they are going to give me a good run in the race, because I have pole by about a second at Jerez and they challenged me. So this should be a really, really good race, provided that there is no corner where they all crash out on. Seems like in Jerez that didn't happen. It did a little bit at the Sito Pons corner. There was a few crashes there, but not a ridiculous amount. There was, well, it was probably a ridiculous amount if I hadn't have had those first 3 races. But compared to what we've had so far, it wasn't a ridiculous amount. So hopefully we can actually have a really good, clean race here with no crashes. So then once again, I think I'm going to go for the medium compound, because it just seems to be the tyres that are really working in Moto3 so far. I think it's fairly safe to just go down the middle, because you're not going to get too cool of a tyre, but it's not going to overheat as much as a soft. It might be one of those things where, again, I kind of regret it. I regretted my decision at Jerez a little bit, but I still came out on top and managed to manage it on the last lap. So hopefully, once again, we'll be able to look after the tyres. But the tyres really seem to shred in this game, like, a lot. But at the same time, when they're shredded, I feel like they have a little bit more grip than shredded tyres on MotoGP 20 ever did. So the tyre wear seems to be more abrasive, but you have more grip when the tyre is gone. if that makes any sense. So it's a kind of a weird concept, but that's what it feels like to me, at least in Moto 3. I've not really done much of the other classes, to be honest, because I've just been recording a lot of career mode. Not really done races with tyre wear and stuff. I've done some online stuff, but nothing really with tyre wear yet, so that might not transfer over to the other bikes. But for Moto 3, it seems like the tyres wear very fast, but there's still a lot of grip when they are worn.
French Grand Prix. The riders are spread out on the grid, the light will soon go out, and the Le Mans race will get underway.
So then, 5 pole positions in a row. Can we make this 5 victories? This really would be something. It's kind of similar to MotoGP 20 career mode when we won all the races except one in Moto 3. But wait for the lights to go out here, then lights out and away we go. It's probably not been the best start. It's not been. Pedro Acosta has already taken the lead as we go down towards the first corner. A very, very fast corner. We might be able to try and go around the outside of Acosta potentially. Toba's come out of absolutely nowhere up the inside of us as well, but into the chicane. Hopefully we'll just be able to edge ahead of Toba, but he's got the inside, so he's going to have it. Rodrigo at the inside as well. There's been a crash behind. Not sure who it is that's gone down, but Masia has also managed to sneak through, so it's not been a very good start for me at all. The rear has come round a little bit on the way into Garage there. Lucky that I did not fall off the bike, because that really could have been a crash. But on the outside of Jam and Masia, then we've got past Masia once again, back up into 4th place. Rodrigo just ahead of us. Then it is Toba, then it's Acosta. So, nothing to worry about too much. They've run a little bit wide through Museum. And we're going to try and get underneath Gabby Rodrigo. Not quite been able to do it, but down towards Garage there. I'm sure we'll try and make a move there because we've had some really good pace there in the practice sessions through this section compared to the AI. They've turned in so early. That would be a track limits warning because they literally went on the green. But up the inside of Gabby Rodrigo, side by side with him now. He has a little bit more power out of the corner. But honestly, it's not worth going side by side with him down towards the chicane because I'm only going to lose out. As I say that, I am still doing it anyway, but yeah, just brake a little bit earlier, back out of it, because there's no way you're going to win on the outside here against an AI when they can change the direction so well. Although, to be honest, I got the bike, that's probably about the best I've done it all weekend. I didn't carry the speed right to the edge of the apex either, so there definitely would be a little bit more on the table if I could take the corner like that a bit more, but I think it's just got braked so much earlier. But either way then, we're still stuck behind Gabby Rodrigo, so we brake for the penultimate turn, almost hitting him up the back a little bit there. Right behind me, Masia is getting a little bit impatient, looking like he wants to make a move, so we need to try and pass Rodrigo as soon as possible, because obviously it is a 6-lap race, so we've got plenty of time, but I don't want Acosta to get away, because he actually is stretching a little bit away from Toba, who is actually getting away from Rodrigo as well, but we've got a good slipstream here through the first corner, it's actually the second corner apparently, but we go to the outside towards the chicane, and we're going to be able to do it around the outside, yes, just about, but he's probably going to get me back on the switchback, he is, because I just couldn't get it turned. We're getting a little track limits warning there for going wide, once again, fair enough, just trying to get on the power, but that was a good attempt at a pass, but unfortunately not able to pull it off. So he might need to get his elbows out a little bit more, be a bit more aggressive with Rodrigo. Of course, Binder is still behind me, so there's no reason why I actually need to win this race. I just really want to. But Rodrigo goes a little bit wide then through Museum. This time we have picked off the positions up into 3rd place. So Toba is now the next target. So we can take it steady because Binder is down in 6th place, you can see on the left-hand side. So there's no reason why we need to particularly risk anything. But once again, the AI cutting that corner. Mino has gone down, so that seems to be a little bit of a tricky corner for the AI at this circuit garage there because they cut the inside. And that's probably why the crash is happening, but at least it seems like it's not too ridiculous like it has been at the other rounds. So I don't know whether there's been a patch since the last episode. I don't think there has been. So it just seems like maybe the first few races of the calendar, they're a little bit more susceptible to crashing just because of the lines they take, potentially. But this episode, it's not been too bad. There's been probably more crashes than I would have liked because of people crashing on the curb, but compared to the previous episode, not too bad. But we picked up another track limits warning, so we got 2 now. In this episode, we've been picking up quite a few of them, and almost a bit of contact with Toba actually on the way in there, because he went very, very defensive. So we are close up to the back of Toba. I was just trying to sort of look up the inside of him, and I kind of cut that corner a little bit. So we need to be careful, because we are getting very, very close to getting a long lap penalty. We've got 3 more, you know, chances before we actually get a long lap, so I definitely don't want one of those. But through Dunlop then, we brake for the chicane. I'm not going to try and do what I did to Rodrigo because that didn't go very well last time, but I'm going to try and get the switch back a bit like Rodrigo did on me, and that actually seems to be the better tactic. So we've learned from our previous mistake in this race, moving up into 2nd place, and this is going to be scary. They're around the outside through La Chapelle. I'm just so scared that the AI are going to turn in on me because they've been turning in so early, and usually when that happens, you come off a lot worse than the AI that turned in on you. So we have moved up into 2nd place. Now Acosta's got about 6-7 tenths lead over me now, but we've got a bit of clean air through the section where I'm a lot quicker. We've already brought it down to 0.4 of a second. Back onto half a second. I didn't quite get the exit he got. So we should be able to close up to him very shortly, hopefully. Once again, they cut the garage there corner. I go a little bit wide in, picking up a bit of a late apex on the exit of it. Probably lost quite a bit of time from that, actually, but we've got 0.3 back to Toba, so provided I don't make any mistakes, we should be safe from Toba, so I can just start, you know, focusing on catching up to Acosta again. It's actually really helped me following the AI through that chicane to actually be able to get it a bit more consistently, so that is nice to see. I had found a way to do it very, very, you know, riskily for a one lap, but nice to see that I've got a consistent way to do it just by following the AI's braking and turning points, because they actually seem to do that corner pretty well. But we are closing now right up to the back of Acosta. Not done recording on too well, to be honest, but we've now got 0.6 over Kaito Toba behind, so we are pretty safe. A new fastest lap of the race once again, which is nice, because the last one I did had a track limits warning, so that's a legitimate fastest lap here. But we are closing up to Pedro Acosta. It's only going to be a matter of time before we're trying to size him up for a move. So once again, the rear tyre was really stepping out through La Chapelle. It seems to do it a lot. When I flick the bike over, the rear is really sliding because of how overheated it is. We are now right on the back of Pedro Acosta, so he's been leading this race for a long time. And once again, you saw it as we went into Museum, the rear really stepping out. But Acosta's gone super wide. I'm on the power nice and early. Side by side with Pedro Acosta. We take the lead here out of the Museum corner, then down towards Garage there. But he's surely going to go back up the inside of me because they've been cutting this corner the entire race. And I heard him go over the curb once again. He goes up the inside. There's been a crash behind. Toba and Rodrigo are both down. So once again, Binder being helped out by my, well, not by my rivals, but by random people in the race crashing in front of him. But Acosta retook the lead through the garage there section. Once again, of course, the corner cutting helped him. But round the outside into the chicane I go. That might have been a mistake, but we've got the inside for the second part of the chicane. He's trying to cut back up the inside, getting the switchback. But we're still in front of Pedro Acosta for now. As we go down towards this right-hander. Oh, no, Acosta's coming back up the inside, I was about to say. I always remember once on MotoGP 18, I passed 5 riders into that corner. But Acosta is playing this really, really well through these flip-flop sections. He got up the inside, kind of put me off a little bit, and then got back up the inside through the next part of the corner as well, because I was a bit flustered. So Pedro Acosta retaking the lead of the race, but it is allowing Masia to catch up. He's only 4 tenths behind now. Obviously, we did have a bigger lead than that. All this battling is costing us a lot of time, but we've got the run compared to Acosta. We go to the outside. I'm going to go up with the power mode 3 just a little bit, just to try and make sure that we get in front of him as we swoop around the outside through the second corner. We're still side by side and braking nice and late for the chicane. This is where we had contact with Maverick Vinales in the MotoGP career mode last season. But we just managed to drop in behind Pedro Acosta. I got flashbacks to that. It wasn't that long ago because I didn't finish the entire season. It was only a couple of weeks ago, so I really had some flashbacks there. But I just saw right behind me then Masia and Binder have really closed up to the back of myself and Acosta. We've lost so much time from battling. I need to make this move on Pedro's stick, and I need to try and pull away because Binder and Masia are the threat here. But we didn't manage to quite pass him out of Museum this lap. We did on the previous lap, of course, but this time, not so much. We weren't able to capitalise on this poor run through there. So through the garage there, then he cuts the corner, and he's down! Acosta's down off his bike, and I'm down as well! And I think we might have just skittled out Darren Binder as well, and I've spawned so far away from my bike. What has happened here? This is disaster. All the AI cut in the corner. Get up, go, run to the bike. We're going to be down in 20-something position. Lots of riders hitting my bike. I don't know if there's going to be too much damage now to pick it up, but I've been knocked off again, I think, by a rider there. Well, I think it was Kaito Toba's hit me, but this is definitely the race over now. So Pedro Acosta takes us out of the French Grand Prix. We're back on the bike, down in 26th position, though. I think that's last place. So our streak of wins is going to come to an end at the mistake of another rider. We're 10 seconds behind Riccardo Rossi. We're not picking up any points here, so we're just got to bring this bike home. But so unfortunate. I knew it was going to happen at some point. I knew that AI were going to take me out at some point, and it's finally happened here at the French Grand Prix. It's kind of frustrating though that I spawned really far away from my bike. I should have been much closer to it, but I think it just got hit by some of the AI, so yeah, a little bit weird. I really hope that they add the AI to pick up their bikes soon as well, because I lose a ridiculous amount of time. I've picked up another track limits warning there by being a little bit distracted, but we're 26 seconds off the race lead. Nothing's going to happen, so if I could get a long lap penalty, it wouldn't really matter. But oh, so unfortunate. That is going to be a big chunk out of our championship lead. We had 44 points, and it's going to be immediately back down to 24 as Darren Binder is sat in second position, and he was right behind Masia as well, so I really hope he doesn't pick up the victory. So as we come through the penultimate and final corners now, this is going to be a big hit to our championship. Obviously, we're still going to have a pretty comfortable lead over Darren Binder, but so unfortunate that another rider's mistake has cost us so dearly. So Yama Masia won then ahead of Darren Binder in second, Tatsuki Suzuki in third, Sergio Garcia in fourth, and Xavi Artigas in fifth position. So McPhee must have crashed again in this race. He's down in 17th place. Actually, no, it just seems like he potentially didn't have the pace in this one. So really, really unfortunate. We did get the fastest lap, so that's some sort of consolation prize, but that should have been, you know, a good fight for the victory. It's so unfortunate. Acosta just crashed right in front of me, and I actually don't think I probably should have crashed from the contact because I was so upright, but yeah, the front just sort of folded on me and I fell. And unfortunately, it takes a very long time to respawn, and the AI don't have that. So when an AI crashes, they lose a couple seconds. But when the player crashes, you have to go pick up the bike. But at least we got to see the bike retrieval feature, just not really in the way that I wanted to see it. So in the championship then, obviously, like I said, we've lost 20 points to Darren Binder here. Only 24 points in front of him now. 31 ahead of Masia and 57 in front of Suzuki. So it's still a really healthy championship lead. You know, after 5 rounds, you'd be pretty happy with a 24-point lead in the championship. But it could have been so much more because Binder obviously would have, you know, finished behind me in that race. So it wouldn't have just been 44 points. It's the amount of points I would have had over him as well. So it potentially, I could have gained another 9. So it could have been a 53-point lead exiting this race. But it's down to 24 through no fault of my own. I suppose I got the poor start in the race, which cost me. And I dropped behind Acosta. But unfortunately there, Acosta taking me out, ruining our win streak as well. So our streak of wins is finally coming to an end. It was going to happen at some point, but I didn't really want it to happen like that. In the Teams Championship then, we now only have 13 points over Petronas Sprinter Racing. Red Bull KTM IO only 14 points back now. And 658 moving ahead of Prustal GP. So Prustal is slowly falling down the order after that weird Portimao race where, of course, both their riders got on the podium because they actually managed to keep on their bikes the most out of everybody. But at least this crash, I suppose, kind of undoes some of the damage that was done in Portimao by the AI all crashing out. But again, it was an AI crashing out that caused it because they can't take the corners properly. They're cutting the corners. Like, why is that happening? It's little bit weird to see. They were cutting garage there every lap. They should have been getting penalties, but instead they were crashing, and unfortunately Acosta just crashed right in front of me. But time to head into the career hub now and end off the episode. We're not going to have really gained much because I didn't reach my race goal because of it, because I finished down in 26th, so we're probably not going to gain too much this weekend. So I actually did just watch the crash on the replay again, and I was actually wrong. I should definitely have crashed from it. I thought I was more sat up, but I was still at like full lean when the contact occurred, so good job that I actually did fall off, otherwise that would have been a bit weird with the physics. But unfortunately we lost quite a bit of reputation that we could have had this weekend because of that crash. Literally, I think the only reason why I've actually gained reputation out of it is because of the multiplier bonus, because I had a good qualifying, of course, but the race I lost a lot there because I lost 1,000 for not being in the top 15, and for being 11 positions away from my objective, I lost 1,250, but it wasn't actually my fault that that happened. It's just I got took out. So we've now got 52,650 reputation, so we still have gained some, but not much. Now obviously we didn't get any credits because we didn't achieve the objective, unfortunately, so we're still at 68,533. But on the research data, we did gain quite a bit here. So we've now got 1,716 on the engine. Only 335 on the frame, of course. But we did just finish the last upgrade on that. So nothing to worry about there. And it's only a few hundred anyway. The other upgrade that you can have, the other optional one. So we're still okay on the frame for the minute. But hopefully we'll be able to upgrade the engine very, very shortly, because we have got a lot of research data to use up. So then we've got a notification on the technical staff. So another new candidate for the telemetrist. It's actually a B+, so this is why it was a good reason to wait a little bit, because we've actually got some really, really good ones now. Obviously, because we've got higher reputation, we've got quite a few coming in. So I'm keeping the ones with decent ratings on the list. I'm not going to hire them for this season because obviously we've almost fully upgraded the bike anyway, but it might be worth hiring them when we move into Moto 2, because of course we know from the last game that your telemetrist, it actually still says data analyst on this screen, but it says telemetrist here. But your chief engineer and your telemetrist come with you to your new team. So we know that if we can try and stack up as many good ones as we can, then we've got a decent choice. when we move up to Moto 2. So we'll keep him on the list for now, but of course we'll start removing them if a really good one start applying. Chief Engineer, still the best we've got is C+, so hopefully we'll have a better one apply very, very shortly. But nothing that we can do on the headquarters front. Obviously no contracts in negotiation at the minute because we're so early on in the season. So that pretty much brings this episode to a close. So I hope you guys have enjoyed that one. Really unfortunate to lose our winning streak in that way. But I have been going on about it quite a bit, so I don't want to keep drilling the point home. But of course, Acosta losing the front in front of us, taking us out, that's part of the game, it's part of the championship, and it closes things up. So there is still some positives to take from it, that it's going to be a closer championship now. But I hope you guys have enjoyed that one. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you're staying safe, and I shall see you in the next one.